Now, when you take marketing, you take consumption, basic economics tells us that production is incomplete until it reaches the final consumer. So sometimes it's a confusion between market and consumer. They may mean the same thing at times, but sometimes they are different. Now, who are the stakeholders there? You are looking at the wholesalers, you are looking at the retailers, you are looking at the consumers, you are looking at companies like buffer stock company, because they belong to that area, according to in my view. You look at the Ghana Commodities Exchange, they belong to that area. But then that's not them. There's another cluster of stakeholders who are at the level of policymakers. Now the policymakers, Dr. Befi came here as a state institution. They help to drive policy. And out of their work, policies are developed, you know. And so you can talk about MOFA, you can talk about Ghana Irrigation Development Authority, you can talk about CSIR, you can talk about Food and Drugs Authority, you can talk about Ghana Standards Authority. All these are policy-making institutions who are stakeholders in the agricultural value chain. That is not all of them, but then we can continue, the list is endless. If we take MOFA, MOFA has the extension services. I mean, they provide extension services. Ghana Irrigation Development Authority, they also provide water for irrigation. CSR, they provide new technology. And you can just recall that Befi has talked about how they have produced new products for farmers and have used all these years. Now, the other group of policymakers are the civil society, which are, you take the universities, they don't necessarily go directly into policy, but what they research out and what they write influence policy. If you take my organization, General Agricultural Workers Union, what we comment and what we intervene help to shape policies. Now, the financial institutions, I categorize them into two. We have the banking services, and then we have the insurance services. And for them, they permeate from the beginning of the chain to the end of the chain. They play a role there. So when we are looking at people to play roles, stakeholders, we need to look at them very well and see how they can fit themselves from the beginning to the end. Now, but let us also appreciate that in some of these rules by the stakeholders, they sometimes overlapped. You have some overlapping. But we also need to critically think about the degree, you know, or the magnitude of the overlapping, because it's important to know we can't just operate as usual. And it's so disappointing that for all these years, we don't seem to be making the type of progress that we are making in agriculture. Now, the roles of the stakeholders are not clearly determined by policy and enforced. Yeah. And then this leaves us with a chaotic, poorly organized, and unregulated agricultural production system in this country. And I would like to emphasize this. Because the roles of the stakeholders are not clearly determined by policy and enforced, it leaves us with a chaotic, poorly organized, and unregulated agricultural production system. And I would like to ask these questions, which you also know. If you take an example, who sets the standards and enforcement of how food should be handled in the markets? If you go to Agogloshi, you go to Medina Market, you go to any of our markets, they pour oranges on the floor or on the ground. Pineapples are on the ground. Watermelon is on the ground. Who enforces that? Who gives the standards? And again, when you even go to the market or by the roadside, and the women, they are selling tomatoes or anything to you, they hit the container, the under. You think that it's a full container, but it's not. You see why I'm saying it's chaotic? Who regulates who? It's a chaotic system. You see, but when you say this, people will think that you are undermining. No, but that is the reality. They put some things under the container and ask, I mean, whatever you are buying on top, you think that it's full, but it's empty. Who ensures that? Now, to wrap up, so the question we now need to identify the stakeholders properly is that who is responsible for the standards and enforcement is my question. And where there are even clearly defined rules, that is my disappointment. Where there are even clearly defined rules, some of the state institutions, excuse me to say, derelict in their duty and get away with it. That is the nature of our agricultural system today. So if this program has come, and for us to look at the role of this, stakeholders in the value chain, and you see that if one stakeholder is weak, because it's a chain, the whole objective of the chain will collapse. And these are the things that, in my view, we have not been able to thoroughly examined. And that is why I see this particular farmers conference and the team very, very relevant. And I think that it is the future, unless we actually, and if we implement it, and I'm happy that the minister's representative is here, at the close of the day, we expect that all that is discussed here and the way forward, there should be somebody to ensure that that is implemented. Otherwise, it becomes another talk show. And that's why I'm happy the minister's representative is here. And I'm also happy the media is here. Please keep on and make sure that you hold the stakeholders and all those who are responsible for any implementation responsible to do their duties. Thank you.